What's up, guys? We've all heard in growing up that opinions are like that bodily orifice that we can't really name because of YouTube guidelines, but everybody has them. But ironically, the United States government has them both at the same time, especially when it comes to the FTC. Chairman Lina Khan has had a rich history of being biasly negative towards the tech industry, and now she has taken it to a whole new low, realizing that her arguments are falling on deaf ears, and she is deciding to look for new people to join in her crusade against the tech industry. Let's open up those wounds right now, sit down, grab some popcorn, and please salt that stuff because it's going to get real. So for today's video, to not look like a total unprofessional idiot, I wore a fancy shirt. Let's begin. So, we all know Chairman Lina Khan is the leader of the FTC, and she has been absolutely vocal about wanting to stop the Microsoft Activision deal. You know, block it, no. And we're going to get into some of the stuff that's taken recently. But let's really start with, I want to at least let you guys know, I warned you all from the beginning of this deal on other podcasts and in other statements that I made that Chairman Lina Khan was going to be a problem for this deal. And boy, was I freaking right. She was nominated around April 21st, 2021. At the time, Khan was currently a law professor at Columbia University, and she is said to help in igniting the so-called hipster antitrust movement. She got this title because in 2016, while as still a law student over at the University of Columbia, she published a paper titled Amazon's Antitrust Paradox in the Yale Law Journal. It was a very lengthy, shall I say, paper. I mean, I like reading law stuff, but this was absolutely like watching paint dry. And she had some very great stuff in it. We're not going to cover it because I don't want to put you guys entirely to sleep. But one paragraph that I really wanted to point out. Amazon's business strategies and current market dominance pose anti-competitive concerns that the consumer welfare framework and antitrust fails to recognize. In particular, current law underappreciates the risk of predatory pricing and how integration across distinct business lines may prove anti-competitive. This is one of the main reasons why she was nominated, because she had a huge, big stance on big tech and limiting the reach of big tech and making sure that they could not grow any bigger. So when she was nominated into her position by the powers that be here with the presidential administration, tech companies already knew that this was going to become a long-term problem because she has already made up her mind about the tech industry. And in July 2021, just a few months after her nomination, petitions by Facebook and Amazon were asking that Lina Khan, chairman of the U.S. Federal Trade Commission, was to recuse herself from actions against them. Probing Amazon's anti-competitive conduct and its proposed acquisition of MGM, but will likely soon refile its complaint on landmark cases seeking to break up Facebook. These were just some of the issues that Amazon and Facebook had with Lina Khan coming in, and she decided to stake her claim very quickly by wanting to reopen up those wounds and already wanting to start blocking acquisitions. We all remember when MGM was purchased by Amazon, and she has had already a history of wanting to stop Amazon. But Khan faced questions in her confirmation hearing as to whether her work on the House Antitrust Subcommittee's probe of competition in big tech, which found widespread anti-competitive behavior by companies including Amazon and Facebook, would require her to recuse herself from the major FTC cases. She said she would follow the guidance of the agency ethics officials in response to recusal motions. She is stated in saying, "I have none of the financial conflicts or personal ties that are the basis for recusal under federal ethic laws, and I would be approaching these issues with an eye to the underlying facts." Right? Under federal regulations, though, the petitions by the companies would automatically prompt a vote by the remaining commissioners if Khan declined to recuse herself from the in-house process. Once the question goes to the remaining 4 commissioners at the time, a party line vote would result in a 2-2 tie, and the motion for recusal would fail, leaving her to participate in the matter. That is because when you have a 2-2 tie, you look to the chairman to break the tie. So no matter what, at the time, because there was 2 Republican commissioners and 2 Democrat commissioners, the chairman would always be the breaking vote, and we already know that she has already had a history of wanting to break up big tech, so we all knew how that would swing. Well, by July of 2022, Khan decided to really open up those wounds and sues Meta because she was the tiebreaker vote in that decision to basically start trying to break up Meta and the Instagram deal and all the other stuff that had taken place under the previous presidential administration. And she even went as far as blocking Meta from purchasing other VR companies. Well, next month later, around August 8th, Noah Phillips, one of the 2 Republican chairmen on the Federal Trade Commission, decided to resign. And then at the time, there was Phillips and Commissioner Christine Wilson, the 2 Republicans. At that time, they broke with the Democratic majority on votes that aimed to carry out the Democratic Party's approach to take a tougher stance on antitrust. The Republican commissioners did not want to be as aggressive as Khan and her 2 Democratic cohorts were, which really caused some discontent in the FTC, which caused Mr. Phillips to decide to depart. He departed very amicably and had nothing bad to say. And a few months later, in December of 2022, that's when the Federal Trade Commission came out and issued a policy statement that dramatically broadens its approach of Section 5 of the FTC Act, which prohibits unfair methods of competition. The policy statement listed a wide range of conduct that could potentially fall under its purview, but offers little by way of practical guidance on how the agency will actually enforce the law, creating uncertainty and political compliance challenges for businesses. Basically, simply put, the FTC has to follow a very strict set of guidelines that were set forth by the United States Congress, and Chairman Khan and her other cohorts under her regime have decided to loophole and twist words to somehow broaden the scope of the powers at her disposal, which is why she feels that she has the ability to file a large amount of lawsuits in the FTC Administrative Court. And this has led to a lot of discontent for businesses that are going to challenge those, which we'll get into a second. But with these frivolous lawsuits, she has been spending a lot of taxpayer dollars just to do it. So, by February 3rd of 2023, a judge on Friday released a ruling denying the Federal Trade Commission's request to stop Meta Platforms from buying virtual reality content maker Within Unlimited, rejecting the regulators' concerns that the deal would reduce competition in a new market. So obviously, the administrative judges are even seeing through some of the direction of these new broadened powers that they're looking for, and that did not fall on deaf ears either. By February 14th, just about 10 days later, Christine Wilson, the last remaining Republican commissioner of the Federal Trade Commission, announced that she was resigning, inciting that it was the Democratic chair Lina Khan's disregard for the rule of law and due process as reasons for her resignation. She is quoted in a Wall Street Journal article in saying, "Much ink has been spilled about Lina Khan's attempts to remake federal antitrust law as chairman of the FTC. Less has been said about her disregard for the rule of law and due process and the way senior FTC officials enable her. I have failed repeatedly to persuade Ms. Khan and her enablers to do the right thing, and I refuse to give their endeavor any further hint of legitimacy by remaining accordingly. And accordingly, I will soon resign as the FTC commissioner. Since Ms. Khan's confirmation in 2021, my staff and I have spent countless hours seeking to uncover her abuse of government power, That task has become increasingly difficult as she has consolidated power within the office of the chairman, breaking decades of bipartisan precedent and undermining the commission structure that the Congress wrote into law. And not only about a month later, March 14th, 2023, in its latest budget proposal to Congress, the Federal Trade Commission requested a 400% increase in its funding for the fiscal year of 2024. The White House's 2023 budget proposal includes $490 million for the FTC, reflecting a substantial increase of $139 million over the FTC's current budget over $351 million. Because of the lawsuits that Ms. Khan is filing and all the stuff that she is trying to do in administrative courts and wasting taxpayer dollars, she now realizes that she needs an increased budget of about 400% to continue her endeavors. Well, again, about a month later, April 14th, just a few days ago, a unanimous Supreme Court held that parties can challenge the constitutionality of the FTC's and the SEC's administrative proceedings in federal court before an agency review is complete. This is not a decision on the constitutionality of these proceedings, but removing the requirement on parties to first exhaust administrative process will facilitate parties' ability to seek relief and will likely hasten the day when the Supreme Court does decide if these courts are constitutional. So, simply put, now, because these big tech companies feel that Lina Khan has taken a lot of powers and consolidated them to her ability to have a more leaning play field on her side when it comes to these arguments by dragging these tech companies before FTC judges that are under the FTC payroll, which make it increasingly difficult for tech companies to get their arguments across in an unbiased nature. They want to go straight to federal court at this point. They're tired of playing games with the FTC and the FTC having the upper hand. So now they are taking this before the Supreme Court to basically ask the Supreme Court to take away the ability from the FTC to be able to drag these companies before an administrative judge that is on the FTC payroll. This could potentially benefit Microsoft in a small way because that means they might not have to go to the administrative court in August. They could just directly drag it into federal court without the administrative process. Well, not only a few days later after that Supreme Court decision was made, Lina Khan was dragged into a meeting with Congress where she was questioned over a few things. The first one was why the FTC sided with Sony and against the Microsoft Activision deal. Check out that video right now, and please look at the dumbfounded look on her face.
I say we can all agree that competition law isn't supposed to protect an industry's dominant player.
Correct.
In light of that, I find it curious that the FTC is taking action to protect Sony, which has 68% of the global market for high-end video gaming consoles, from competition attempted to block Microsoft's proposal or their proposed acquisition of Activision Blizzard King. As you know, Sony's been the most vocal opponent of that deal, and remarkably, the FTC has sided with Sony. Can you explain why that seems to be a good idea?
This case also has been voted out and is in administrative proceedings, so I'll let the complaint speak for itself. Mm-hmm. I will say, as a general matter, we always really benefit from hearing market participants across the board, including big players. But at the end of the day, we always make our own independent judgments based on the law and the facts.
Okay.
Not only was she questioned about why she sided with Sony and gave the I don't even know how to describe her response to the Congresswoman, because she didn't even respond. She gave literally a BS statement that I could smell all the way over here. But not only was she questioned about why she sided with Sony, but she's also now being questioned on why she wants foreign help to impose her agenda that Congress would not pass. Ms. Khan's foreign collusion came up during a House hearing on Tuesday when she was grilled about recent revelations that her office is helping Europe target U.S. tech companies. She is also trying to reduce protections for American multinationals in negotiations over the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework. She is literally arguing about big tech, and the Congress members, the senators, and almost everybody else has literally no time to listen to her insane ambitions on trying to stunt American tech companies. So now she has resorted to going and somehow lobbying for her own agenda to world regulators to please help her, to please see, she wants them to see Lina Khan's way as the right way, and that we need to limit big tech. The interesting part is that there is a lot of arguments coming out that her arguments towards Amazon and other big tech companies are completely flawed. The one argument that came out was against her paper on Amazon, on how she can't see the bigger picture, that because of Amazon's existence, pricing for products has been extremely competitive. It is actually causing other people to have to compete with Amazon's already low prices. Amazon puts out small family businesses like the ones that I work for out of business every single day because they are able to sell products at very low costs. I mean, insane low costs. So this actually causes companies that are local to us to be competitive and offer us pricing that is pretty close to what we can find online. But according to Ms. Khan, Amazon is just out for themselves and that they are going to take over the world by pricing things. At any rate, I hope you learned a little bit from this video. I hope you now understand that Microsoft has had a large battle in front of them this entire time, but it's good to see that Ms. Khan's arguments are already falling on deaf ears, and she is resorting to now screaming and crying to world regulators from other countries to try to get any kind of support whatsoever. I honestly believe at this point it will be an interesting day in court if it even makes it to court with Xbox versus the FTC. Tell me what you think down below in the comments. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? Do you think I'm crazy? Again, I read them. I enjoy seeing all your interactions to my content. For more content like this, please subscribe to Centurion 1307, all that fun stuff that YouTube likes to see down below. And as always, everybody, please stay safe out there. Until next time we meet again, have a great day.